The Vampire
vintage
King
is
had
prepared.
ruled cities
Serve
for
it.
centuries,
As you wish, my
survived wars,
Ensure it is
betrayals, and
perfect.
blood-soaked
I will.
revolutions. Yet
The night is
tonight,
young.
standing
A toast
beneath
is in
crystal
order.
chandeliers and
Indeed,
golden
let us not
arches,
keep our
he
guests
felt
waiting.
trapped.
Yes, my lords.
Her love feels like a cage. The words slipped from his lips quietly, meant only for the shadows and the elite circle gathered near him. He didn't realize that just a few steps away, hidden behind marble and roses, the woman who loved him most had frozen in place. She's everywhere, he continued, his voice cold and exhausted. I breathe and she's there. I turn and she's there. Always asking, always worrying. I feel like I'm drowning. The Vampire King wanted silence again. He wanted space. He wanted the stillness he had before he let a human heart into his immortal world. And in that moment he forgot one simple truth about human hearts. Once broken they don't scream. They close. The night cafe smelled of burnt coffee and rain-soaked pavement. It was nearly 2 a.m., and Luna Reyes was scraping dried egg yolk off a plate with aching fingers. Her apron was stained, her shoes worn thin, her back screaming from another endless shift. This was her life now. Not silk dresses. Not chandeliers. Just flickering lights and minimum wage. Her phone buzzed in her pocket. Don't wait for me. Council business is running late. No, I miss you. No rest well. Just instructions. Luna swallowed her disappointment and typed back quickly. I left your blood thermos in the fridge behind the greens. I love you. She stared at the screen. See. No reply. Luna was dating the Vampire King. To the human world, he was a ruthless investor who owned half the city skyline. To the supernatural world, he was ancient power incarnate. Feared, obeyed, untouchable. To Luna, he was the man who had saved her from an alley attack 2 years ago. The man whose eyes looked like shattered ice. The man she kept trying to soften even as his walls grew thicker by the day. Her shift ended at 3 a.m. Normally, one of his drivers would be waiting. Tonight, the alley was empty. It wasn't a mistake. It was a message. Take the subway. When Luna finally reached the penthouse overlooking the city park, the silence inside felt unnatural. Cold. Sterile. She slipped off her cheap sneakers and hid them in the closet so they wouldn't ruin the marble aesthetic. The apartment never felt like hers. It felt like a museum she wasn't allowed to touch. He stood by the floor-to-ceiling window, holding a glass of dark red liquid. He didn't turn around. He didn't need to. He could hear her heartbeat. You're home, Luna said softly, wrapping her arms around his waist from behind, resting her cheek against his expensive suit. You didn't answer my message. I was worried. His body went rigid. It's work, he replied coolly. If I were in danger you would be the last to know. For your own safety. I know, she whispered, holding him tighter. I just missed you. He gently but firmly stepped away, breaking her embrace. I have calls to make. Go to bed. Can I make you tea? She asked, stepping closer. Or sit with you. You look stressed. His jaw tightened. Stop, he said quietly. Then darker. Lower. Stop hovering. I don't need tea. I don't need comfort. I need space. Fear rippled through her. I'm sorry, Luna whispered. I just love you. He didn't respond. The next night, rain drowned the city. Luna sat alone in the massive kitchen, eating instant noodles, cheap food in a $20 million penthouse. Her phone lay beside her. She knew she shouldn't go. But earlier that day, while cleaning his study, something he'd forbidden, she'd seen a threat report. A rogue vampire faction was in the city. If he's at the gala, he's exposed. She didn't go as his partner. She went as his shadow. A black dress from a thrift store. Hair pulled tight. A simple mask. The ballroom glittered with predators and power. And then she saw him. Regal. Cold. Untouchable. Standing beside him was another woman, tall, elegant, ancient. Her hand rested possessively on his arm. Luna's stomach twisted. She moved closer, hiding behind a marble pillar. That's when she heard it. She's suffocating me, the Vampire King said. Every word sliced deeper. She clings. She needs too much. It's pathetic. Pathetic. Luna pressed a hand to her mouth to stop the sound breaking free. I need space, he continued. I want to come home to an empty place. Just once. Something inside her shattered quietly. She didn't run. She walked. Out into the rain. Out of his world. At 3:45 a.m., Luna returned to the penthouse. She packed only what was hers. She left the dresses, the jewelry, the life that never belonged to her. She removed the ring from her finger and placed it on the marble counter. She poured the blood thermos down the sink. Then she wrote 3 lines. I heard you. You won't feel suffocated anymore. The vine has been cut. She closed the door behind her. For good. When the Vampire King returned, the apartment was silent. No warmth. No heartbeat. No scent of vanilla and rain. Only emptiness. And for the first time in centuries, the immortal king felt cold. The Vampire King stood motionless in the center of his penthouse long after the sun threatened the horizon. He did not breathe. He did not blink. He simply stared at the small piece of paper resting on the vast slab of granite. I heard you. You won't feel suffocated anymore. The vine has been cut. At first he felt relief. The silence wrapped around him like a familiar cloak. No soft footsteps. No gentle questions. No warmth pressing against his back when he was lost in thought. This was what he wanted. Space. Yet something was wrong. The air felt empty in a way he had never known. Not quiet. Not peaceful. Hollow. He turned slowly, scanning the apartment with sharpened senses. No heartbeat echoed back to him. No human warmth lingered in the air. The faint vanilla scent that used to cling to the furniture, gone. His jaw tightened. She's being dramatic, he muttered to himself. She always comes back. But when the sun rose and still nothing changed, irritation crept in. Then unease. Luna woke on a stranger's couch with a stiff neck and swollen eyes. Her friend's small apartment smelled of laundry soap and cheap incense. The ceiling above her was cracked, water-stained, painfully ordinary. It felt safe. She sat up slowly, hugging her knees to her chest. No marble floors. No cold air conditioning set to immortal comfort. Just a threadbare blanket and the hum of traffic outside. Her phone buzzed. Unknown number. She didn't answer. A minute later, another vibration. Then another. She turned the phone face down and exhaled. She had given him what he wanted. Space. By the second night, the Vampire King's patience snapped. Find her, he ordered coldly. His security network moved instantly, drivers, watchers, supernatural informants. Normally, Luna would have been easy to track. She had never hidden from him before. But this time, nothing. No credit card activity. No GPS pings. No familiar routes. It was as if she had erased herself. That's when the first crack appeared in his composure. He stood in the bedroom that night, staring at the untouched side of the bed. He had always complained that she made it too warm. That her breathing distracted him. Now the sheets were ice cold. He lay down anyway. Sleep did not come. Instead, memories did. Her laugh when he burned pasta for the first time. The way she held his hand during his blood nightmares. How she never once asked for power, money, or immortality. Only presence. And suddenly the silence screamed. 3 nights later, Luna found work. A small community clinic needed overnight help. Cleaning, organizing supplies, making tea for exhausted nurses. It paid little, but it was honest. Familiar. She kept her head down. She didn't check social media. She didn't check the news. She didn't want to see his face. But fate, cruel and precise, found her anyway. It happened near dawn. A man collapsed in the waiting area. Pale. Sweating. Convulsing. The nurses shouted. Someone screamed for help. Luna moved without thinking. She recognized the signs immediately. Move him away from the lights, she ordered. And get me ice. Now. They stared at her. Trust me, she said quietly. Or he dies. They listened. Because sometimes calm sounds like authority. Back at the penthouse, the Vampire King shattered a glass in his hand. Blood, his blood, dripped onto the marble floor. He stared at it stunned. Vampires didn't bleed like this unless something was deeply wrong. His chest felt tight. Too tight. He pressed a hand over his heart. For the first time in centuries, the word formed uninvited in his mind. Fear. The clinic's patient stabilized just before sunrise. As the nurses celebrated, one of them whispered, "How did you know what to do?" Luna hesitated. "I've seen it before," she replied. That was only half a lie. That same morning, reports reached the Vampire King. A rogue faction had attacked a blood supply route. A trusted ally had been poisoned. And somewhere in the city, a human woman had saved a life using knowledge that shouldn't exist. He froze. The description matched her. Small, quiet, brown eyes. Luna. And suddenly the truth struck him like a blade. She hadn't been clinging to him. She had been protecting him. From threats he never noticed. From weaknesses he refused to see. From himself. He remembered her voice at the gala. "If I see anything suspicious, I'll alert your security." He had dismissed her. Called her a distraction. Pathetic. The memory burned. That night, Luna sat alone on the apartment steps, watching the sky lighten. She felt lighter. Still hurting but no longer shrinking. She had chosen herself. She didn't know that across the city, an immortal king was unraveling. She didn't know that the space she gave him was becoming a prison of regret. She only knew one thing. She would never beg again. The king kneels when he finally understands her worth. The vampire king no longer slept. He stood at the edge of the city each night, watching lights flicker on and off like dying stars. His council noticed the change immediately, the way his temper shortened, the way his gaze drifted, the way his control slipped. "You are distracted," one elder said carefully. He almost laughed. If only they knew. Because distraction wasn't the problem. Absence was. Luna's days fell into a new rhythm. Clinic. Cleaning. Silence. She spoke little. Listen more. The nurses liked her. Patients trusted her. There was something steady about her presence. Something that calmed fear without demanding attention. But danger was circling. She felt it the way prey feels the shift in air before the strike. The Vampire King reviewed security footage late one night, replaying images from the clinic incident frame by frame. "Enhance," he ordered. The image sharpened. There she was, directing nurses, shielding the patient's neck from light, moving with instinct and precision. Not human instinct. Something older. Something learned. His chest tightened painfully. "How long?" he whispered to the empty room. "Have you been hiding this?" Memories resurfaced, details he had dismissed. How Luna could recognize rare blood reactions. How she knew ancient phrases without knowing where she learned them. How she sensed danger before his guards did. She wasn't clinging. She was watching, protecting, preparing. And he had crushed her for it. Luna felt the shift the night the lights went out at the clinic. Not a power failure. An intrusion. She smelled iron. Not blood. Weaponized metal. Her body tensed. "Lock the doors," she whispered to the head nurse. "Now." The nurse hesitated. "Please," Luna said, voice steady but urgent. They listened. They always did. The first vampire breached the back entrance silently. The second never made it past the hallway. Luna moved fast, pulling emergency blinds, redirecting power, hiding patients. She grabbed a metal tray and smashed it against a sprinkler valve, flooding the corridor with water and light refraction. The attacker hissed, and then froze. Because she spoke. Not in Spanish. Not in English. But in an ancient command tongue. The words cut through the air like law. The vampire collapsed. Unmoving. Terrified. Miles away the Vampire King staggered. His knees hit the marble floor. The bonds snapped back into him violently, burning, roaring, alive. "She's in danger," he growled. The realization hit harder than any blade. The clan of Monterey wasn't targeting him anymore. They were targeting her. Because she was the weakness. Because she was the key. He moved faster than thought. No drivers. No escorts. Only rage and regret. Luna stood trembling in the dark clinic, clutching a blood-stained cloth, when the temperature dropped suddenly. The air went still. Dead still. She didn't turn around. She didn't need to. "I told you to give me space," she said quietly. He stopped. For the first time in centuries, the Vampire King did something no one had ever seen. He knelt. Right there. On cracked linoleum floors. "I was wrong," he said hoarsely. "I didn't feel suffocated by your love." His voice broke. "I was terrified of needing it." Silence filled the room again, but this time it was different. Luna turned slowly. Her eyes were wet but steady. "You don't get to apologize because you're afraid now," she said softly. "You had my heart when I was small and human and brave enough to give it freely." He lowered his head. "I don't deserve forgiveness," he whispered. "No," she agreed. "But you might earn respect. If you listen." Outside, sirens wailed. Enemies regrouped. The war wasn't over. But something had shifted forever. She was never the weak one, she was the balance. The clinic smelled of antiseptic and fear. Outside, the city trembled under approaching chaos. Sirens cut through the night. Shadows moved where shadows should not move. The rogue faction had realized their mistake too late. They hadn't come for a helpless human. They had come for the anchor of a king. The Vampire King rose slowly from his knees. Not in rage. In restraint. "I will end this," he said quietly. Luna shook her head. "No," she replied. "You will not end this alone." His eyes snapped to hers. "You are not a soldier." She met his gaze without fear. "And you are not a god." The words landed heavier than any insult. For centuries, no one had spoken to him like that and lived. Yet instead of anger, something else stirred. Respect. "They will not stop," he warned. They see you as leverage. Luna wiped blood from her hands and straightened. Then let them learn what they've been underestimating. The first wave came through the front. For vampires. Armed. Ancient. Confident. They didn't see Luna until it was too late. She moved with purpose, not speed, redirecting lights, opening emergency shutters, flooding the room with controlled brightness. Her voice cut through the chaos again, speaking that ancient tongue. Not commands this time. Judgment. The vampires faltered. The king stepped forward then, not to overshadow her, but to stand beside her. Together. When the fight ended, the floor was cracked, the walls scorched, and the enemy lay restrained, alive, humiliated, defeated. No deaths. That was Luna's condition. When the authorities arrived, the truth followed. The elders learned what she was. Not a queen. Not yet. But a keeper. A rare human lineage once tasked with maintaining balance between predators and prey. Healers. Mediators. Voices that ancient creatures were compelled to hear. That's why her words carried weight. That's why danger bent around her. That's why the king had felt suffocated. Because balance presses back against unchecked power. You knew, he said later when they stood alone on the clinic roof, dawn creeping in. She nodded. I didn't want the role, she admitted. I just wanted you. His throat tightened. And I wanted to pretend I didn't need anyone. They stood in silence as the sun climbed, safe for her, forbidden for him. A line that had always separated them. Until now. I will not cage you again, he said finally. Not with love. Not with fear. Luna studied him. Then we start differently, she said. No thrones. No saviors. No shadows. What does that leave? He asked. She stepped closer. Choice. The elders tried to protest. The king silenced them. The age of ruling through fear is over, he declared. Anyone who threatens her threatens the crown. Not because she was his weakness, but because she was right. Justice followed swiftly. The rogue faction was stripped of power. Their crimes exposed. Their allies abandoned them. Instant karma. Visible. Unavoidable. That night the city breathed easier. And for the first time, the vampire king returned to an apartment that didn't feel empty. Not because someone filled the space, but because the space was finally shared. The love that learned to breathe. The city slowly returned to normal. News outlets spoke in careful half-truths, about a criminal syndicate dismantled, about anonymous benefactors, about a night when power quietly changed hands without explosions or headlines. But in the supernatural world, nothing was normal anymore. Because the vampire king had changed. The council gathered at dawn. Ancient beings sat in stone silence as the king stood before them, not on his throne but on the floor, at eye level. I ruled by fear because it was easy, he said calmly. I mistook control for strength. Murmurs rippled through the chamber. I will not repeat that mistake. An elder hissed, and the human? Luna stepped forward before he could answer. She did not bow. She did not lower her gaze. I am not his weakness, she said evenly. I am his limit. And his reminder. The room stilled. No one challenged her. Because deep down, every ancient creature there felt the truth. Justice followed swiftly. Those who had humiliated her. Those who had plotted against her. Those who had seen her as disposable. They lost influence, status, protection. Not through cruelty. Through exposure. Instant karma, delivered cleanly and undeniably. The world corrected itself. Weeks passed. Luna did not return to the penthouse immediately. She kept her job at the clinic. Kept her routines. Kept her independence. And the king did something radical. He waited. No demands. No surveillance. No hovering. Just presence when invited. One evening, as rain traced slow paths down the windows, Luna finally spoke the words that mattered most. I loved you when I was small, she said quietly. And you loved me like I was fragile. He nodded. I see you now, he replied. Not as something to protect, but as someone to walk beside. She studied him for a long moment. Then we try again, she said. Not because we need each other, but because we choose to. He extended his hand. Not in command. In invitation. She took it. They did not rush immortality. They did not crown her queen. They did not rewrite destiny overnight. They learned. Slowly. Carefully. With space that no longer felt like distance. On the balcony one night, overlooking the city, Luna leaned into the cool air. You know, she said softly, you never were suffocating. He smiled faintly. And you were never too much. They stood together, human and immortal, power and balance, strength and kindness, watching the city breathe,